Imagine a craftsman strolling through a Slovenian woodland, tagging a dozen trees like they're destined for greatness. Deep in Slovenia's backcountry, we're talking villages you'd miss if you blinked, and forests so dense they swallow sound. This structure exists in total harmony with its environment. You'd swear it sprouted from the ground organically. The journey starts with log preparation, and yeah, this matters way more than you'd guess. Once debarked, these monsters got stacked on raised platforms for a drying marathon that stretched across multiple seasons. We're in no-rush territory here. When they finally hit the right moisture content, the real artistry kicked in. The builders scrutinized each log like a sculptor sizing up raw stone, analyzing every contour and irregularity, taking measurements, making micro-corrections. Here's something wild. Before a single shovel hit dirt, the builder erected this elaborate framework system that functioned as a life-size three-dimensional template. The chosen site straddled the transition zone between dense woods and clearings, but the terrain had its own agenda. Rock-laden soil turned excavation into something resembling an archaeological dig. Brutal technical work that probably inspired some colorful language. After finally reaching proper depth through that stubborn substrate, they filled the trenches with compacted gravel layers. This rocky foundation pulls double duty, distributing weight uniformly and channeling groundwater away from the structure to keep the base bone dry all year. They poured reinforced concrete foundations directly onto that prepared gravel bed, establishing an unshakable platform for everything to follow. Traditional log structures sometimes rest on stone posts or foundation rocks, methods that served our forebears adequately. Every log received royal treatment before installation, zero exceptions, zero compromises. This essential preparation removes loose material and exposes the grain structure, so protective treatments can penetrate deeply, defending against moisture intrusion and insect damage for generations. The builder then deployed pneumatic equipment to secure compressible strips into precision-milled grooves, running each log's full-length accuracy that would impress a master watchmaker. By completion time, each timber came fully staged on the ground, with gasket strips and wool insulation pre-installed, ready to stack like the world's most challenging puzzle game. Immediately after positioning those initial logs, they began drilling vertically through multiple layers simultaneously. Picture drill bits taller than you. These extended bits created perfectly plumb channels through several logs in one operation. The stacking operation progressed with meticulous care, each timber individually prepared and positioned with exacting standards like reverse Jenga at massive scale. They sculpted contact surfaces using chainsaw work and hand chisels, achieving seamless fits where each log nestled into the saddle notch connection beneath it. This saddle notch method generates incredibly robust mechanical interlocks at corner intersections, zero fasteners required. Industrial cranes with specialized rigging gently settled those colossal spruce logs directly onto the prepared base. Logs heavy enough to flatten vehicles. Zero jarring, zero vibration. Up next came capping these hand-fitted log walls with a roof that could handle serious snow loads, violent wind events, and the natural compression of those settling timber walls below. This isn't suburban roofing, this is alpine-grade construction where nature shows no mercy and builders can't afford mistakes. First priority was installing the ridge beam, the spine supporting everything that follows. This enormous central timber, hand-selected for length, straightness, and load-bearing capacity, spanned the building's full dimension like vertebrae. Hoisting something that massive and unwieldy to elevation required serious logistics and maybe a few quiet prayers. They deployed mechanical lifting equipment for precise vertical positioning, because eyeballing it isn't an option when you're placing the roof's primary structural element. Each rafter came from solid lumber, individually cut, prepped, and elevated by experienced teams. These long structural members got positioned at calculated angles to generate the optimal roof pitch. After assembling and securing the primary roof framework, they reinforced everything with additional bracing that would earn engineering approval. To protect the exposed roof structure during ongoing construction, they immediately applied continuous waterproof membrane that functioned like outerwear for the building. Now here's where things get fascinating. The roof tiles arrived with their own history that adds character, impossible to manufacture. Rather than ordering fresh materials from distributors, they acquired salvaged clay tiles from a demolished 1969 Yugoslav-era structure. But the trade-off being aged and previously installed, each tile exhibited slight warping and uniqueness like clay snowflakes. Construction continued upward with internal wooden supports bridging the A-frame sections, creating a strength network within the roof assembly. These strategic components linked opposing roof planes together, making the entire roof function as one rigid unit. Enormous log floor joists came next, positioned directly atop the log walls to establish the structural foundation for interlevel floors. And when I say enormous, I mean business. Each joist, individually planned and surfaced, received custom notches to seat firmly on supporting logs below. For actual floor surfaces in the attic and main level, they installed hand-sawn planks directly over those timber joists. Forget that particle board garbage. These planks originated from spruce logs harvested and processed right on site, maintaining material consistency throughout the entire project. With the roof structure weatherproofed and solid, focus shifted to enclosing those triangular gable walls that give the cabin its signature alpine character. Filling these A-frame sections began with constructing precise internal frameworks that had to match irregular angles perfectly. Since handcrafted natural timber never produces perfectly uniform results, and that's part of the appeal, they couldn't deploy prefabricated framing components from lumber suppliers. They installed temporary diagonal bracing throughout construction to maintain A-frame stability during the build. Think of them as training wheels for walls. These prevented twisting or unwanted movement as they progressively added weight to the upper framework, because once things start tilting, they tend to continue. After completing the framing grid, they prepared custom milled siding boards that would become the visible surface of these gable walls. These installed horizontally, conforming to the natural angles and irregularities of the roof slope rather than resisting them. Concealed nails secured each plank while maintaining clean visual lines inside and outside. Here's something unconventional compared to standard construction. Rather than framing window and door openings into stud walls from the beginning, they cut openings into the settled log walls only after everything stabilized. Since flooding the interior with natural light while preserving structural integrity was a primary objective, they calculated window and door positions to maximize daylight and frame surrounding forest views like living artwork. The window frames came from kiln-dried spruce that wouldn't warp or contract, because nothing destroys a view faster than a window that won't seal properly. With the structural envelope sealed and electrical conduits carefully routed through walls where they'd remain invisible, attention turned to heating. Rather than deploying forced air that desiccates everything or radiators that consume wall space and collect dust, they selected underfloor radiant heating. Subsequently, the crew addressed interior partition walls and sophisticated insulation systems that would render this cabin comfortable year-round. Since these walls carried zero structural loads, their primary function was dividing spaces while maintaining thermal and acoustic isolation. They deployed multiple insulation layers, beginning with a vapor barrier directly over the concrete floor surface to prevent moisture wicking upward. They custom-milled exterior window trim from spruce boards harvested and processed on-site, preserving that connection to the local ecosystem. Inside, they fabricated decorative wooden trim to complement the rustic log interior aesthetic while concealing any gaps or rough edges around windows. Each triangular window received custom fabrication to fit its exact opening because standard dimensions don't exist in hand-built log structures. Rather than selecting standard drywall that can crack and reveal seams, they chose oriented strand board OSB for structural cladding that's robust and stable. For main floor surfaces, ceramic tiles became the finish layer of choice, practical, attractive, and ideal for radiant heat. They set and leveled each tile individually, guaranteeing complete surface contact and proper alignment with minimal grout lines for a professional appearance. Let's discuss why insulation and heating selections matter so profoundly here. It's not merely about comfort, it's about survival and efficiency. Every decision regarding insulation and heating traced back to the specific environmental challenges of this location. This mountainous Slovenian region experiences extended severe winters where temperatures nosedive and snow persists for months. Within this comprehensive thermal strategy, the massive stone fireplace emerges as the genuine focal point, both functionally and emotionally, the nucleus around which domestic life revolves. While radiant floor heating supplies steady, uniformly distributed background warmth that operates almost imperceptibly, the fireplace delivers rapid, concentrated heat bursts when you genuinely need them, like after trudging in from a blizzard. Constructing a full masonry fireplace honors centuries of alpine tradition where every household understood that the fireplace could determine the boundary between comfort and crisis. As they built upward, they meticulously aligned the fireplace core with the cabin's primary structural load path. Meanwhile, moisture management becomes equally vital as maintaining warmth, possibly even more critical long-term. This multi-layered moisture and insulation strategy generated an optimal hybrid building envelope that collaborates with natural materials rather than opposing them. The outcome? An exceptionally resilient wall system that permits natural materials to breathe while completely protecting the insulation, structural integrity, and interior living environment from both moisture and temperature extremes. The interior finishing phase genuinely brings the aesthetic vision together magnificently, converting a structure into a dwelling. They selected oak flooring for its stability, inherent beauty, and superb compatibility with underfloor heating, a combination that's tough to surpass. The oak parquet, approximately 8 millimeters thick and delivered in pre-milled planks, could adapt to the space rapidly without the warping problems that afflict thicker boards. Before positioning the planks, they applied a thin, flexible adhesive directly to the concrete surface, not excessive, not insufficient, precisely right. Now that all structural work's completed, let's appreciate the aesthetics that elevate this from basic shelter into artwork. This is where the builder's authentic passion for natural materials and handcrafted artistry genuinely radiates through every detail. You can identify incredible touches everywhere, like their treatment of the staircase connecting the cabin's levels. It's not merely functional, it's sculptural. Watch them convert a storm-felled spruce root into a sculptural artwork for a compact window alcove in the stairwell. Talk about transforming disaster into triumph. This perfectly encapsulates the builder's entire philosophy, utilizing materials directly from the surrounding landscape rather than importing generic decorations from distant locations. The staircase, already constructed from meticulously chosen larch timbers and organically shaped log elements, functions as the primary architectural connection between living levels while being artwork in its own right. Within this handcrafted vertical space, they recognized an opportunity to create something symbolic that communicates a narrative. That spruce root originated from the aftermath of a mountain storm that toppled several large trees in a nearby protected forest. Nature's destruction transformed into beauty. Rather than removing fallen trees as waste or firewood, the builder salvaged and repurposed them, recognizing potential where others perceived debris. Nothing embodies this philosophy better than the central chandelier they fabricated, a lighting fixture that's simultaneously a natural sculpture suspended in the home's heart. Fundamentally, this cabin honors alpine building traditions extending back centuries while integrating modern comprehension of building science. Those full-scribed solid spruce logs, with their naturally variable grain patterns and occasional knots, establish the primary visual theme permeating the structure. These massive timbers, shaped with saddle notch joints and hand-scribed grooves, function as both structure and exposed finish, zero concealment behind drywall here. The natural log walls breathe, shift, and age magnificently. Natural or lightly oiled softwoods dominate surfaces throughout the cabin, establishing a warm, cohesive environment that feels organic and inviting. Employing natural oils instead of stains or varnishes permits the wood to breathe and develop character over time, improving with age rather than peeling and flaking. The central stone fireplace supplies a monumental contrast to the timber's warmth, its mass and permanence anchoring the lighter wooden elements. Rough, irregular salvaged mountain stone conveys a sense of ancient geological permanence that reminds occupants of the surrounding peaks. Most crucially, this rustic style isn't merely decoration applied at the conclusion. Everything serves an authentic purpose in the building's performance. Every detail functions both aesthetically and practically for building performance, from moisture management to structural integrity. The completed cabin achieves a refined natural minimalism that feels simultaneously timeless and thoroughly contemporary. It's a dwelling where master-level rustic craftsmanship generates authentic warmth and profound connection to its surroundings.